do you have like $15 I can borrow? I gotta pay for parking downstairs.
I mean, real? Are you serious?
No.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Kids in the Room podcast. Kids in the Room podcast.
That's right. That's right.
Brought to you by Move Faces TV.
Let's talk about it a little bit. Let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about your, how'd you get here? Your childhood. Who are you? Like, how did you get here, man?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for asking. I've had a pretty cool life. Very lucky because as a child, I was born on a revolution. Actually, which is cool. 1979. That's when Iran had a revolution. But luckily for me, my mom was a stewardess in Iran Air. And so I was able to be born in America. So I have like a American citizenship. And then when I was around 8 months old, we went back to Iran to live in the revolution, right? And my family was actually not the religious side. So it was kind of on the bad end of it. And immediately following the revolution, there was a war with Iran and Iraq. I got to say it the right way for the real ones, So Iran and Iraq were having a war. So I lived in that for 10 years. And when I was about to turn 10-ish, that's when the military starts like talking to your parents. And my mom's like, my kid's not meant for war. He's not the war type. He's not going to survive. So she used my citizenship and escaped my father, who wasn't the greatest, and we ended up coming to America. Shout out to my mom, $500 in her pocket, no grasp of the language, and worked our way up. We came to a little town called Lemon Grove, which is very close to Mexico. I thought Americans were Mexican for the first time. Like when I first came to America, I was like, Americans are like, they're Mexicans. I was like, cool. And they kind of are if you think about it. Like Los Angeles was Mexico. But yeah, and so we just kept working on here.
Wow, that's interesting. You also mentioned something about your father. You said, like, what was the relationship with you guys, man? Like, is he back in Iran or you have no idea?
Honestly, yeah. Out of respect for my mom, I don't keep track. You choose a side, and I chose my mama. Right?
Wow. Do you have to choose a side? Why? Because
my mom didn't like him for whatever reason. And it's funny because now that I'm an adult, I realize how it's very nuanced relationships. And maybe my dad wasn't as wrong as I think he might have been, right? Or I was told he was, because I have certain memories of it to justify what I've done. But still, it's nuanced, Sometimes you're yelling, but maybe they did something that you're yelling at. You're not just the instigator. You never know. But, you gotta choose a side. I like to live in a black and white world. I don't like to live in a gray area. And my love for my mother is unconditional, right? So whatever she wants, I do.
All right.
She's the only family I have.
All right, I feel you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just always think it's funny when you have to choose a side. And there's always two sides to a story. And it's like, you never know what she's telling you or vice versa. And I'm not saying anything bad about any mothers out there, but you never know what the other person is saying or what they did or vice versa if you weren't really there. There's not enough context,
Absolutely. And that's why you just have to go on. I'm in my mama gang. I'm in gang mama.
Like, I don't think I could just
She jumped me in.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know. I just think like, if my father was still alive, I don't think I could choose a side based off what my mother just told me. That's just me.
That's true. But do you have childhood memories of your dad like hitting your mom?
No, I don't.
Okay, I have those. So it's kind of.
See, you didn't mention that.
Well, that's
that's a big part.
It's weird. Yeah, but you get what I mean. So you have there's reasons why I made like an educated guess. Also, who knows where my dad is? So he ain't here to defend himself. I'm gonna drink the mama Kool-Aid,
Right. I wonder if he ever like went looking for you and shit like that.
Who knows?
It's crazy.
But life is good. One of my secret powers that like seriously like that's helped me in life. It's not a secret power. I'm so sorry. A thing that has happened that was, I guess I look at it almost as a fortunate thing is I don't have a family. I just have me and my mom and my stepdad. That's it. Which is like my dad now, But I only have those two. And my girlfriend now and our dog. That's it. That's all the people have to worry about. Like people that have big families, they're always like, it's beautiful. If you're going to fight, your cousins come get your back. That's nice. I wish I had that sometimes. You know what I mean? Or your brother comes in and gives you some advice, or your dad comes in and goes, listen, you're about to kiss a girl. This is how, right? I never had any of that. But on the flip side of that, I never had any of that, right? I didn't have to worry about any drama. I didn't have to like worry about helping somebody that's a relative, right? Someone does something, I gotta go get them out of a mess, lend money, whatever it is. I've never had any of that either, right? Buy a ton of birthday presents for a ton of siblings, or so it's kind of cool too. You can look at it both ways, I think. And I chose to see the good side of it for me, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I think I also want to talk about, your journey, right? Your journey before, like, all right,
yeah.
Because you're a comedian now, you also do creative directing and things like that. And, but how did you get here?
Well,
you're in LA. You're
I was
a comedian. How'd you get here?
I was lucky enough to be brought here, right? Because of the war and revolution situation after 10 years. But basically, I sucked at school, right? Horrible. Barely made it through high school. And I was like, what skills do I have? And all I ever did was just draw Bart Simpsons and Spider-Mans as a child. And somehow that led into a field of graphic design. And I mean, I started at Kinko's. I started at the very bottom. A lot of people got to go to school, college. But I got accepted to a place called Pasadena Art Center. And we get there, and I'll never forget, the lady was like, okay, you're in. You had to do like a little portfolio. And she's like, you're in. I'm like, oh my God, I made it to college, like, holy shit. And she's like, yeah, all right, do you have the money? I was like, what you mean? She's like, yeah, it's going to cost you about $100,000 plus. I'm like, excuse me? $100,000 for 17-year-old me, right? And I was working since 13 on, so I kind of understood money, That was like $1 bazillion. I was like, screw this. So I got a job at Kinko's and kept working my way up into daily news, from daily news into like shitty magazines, from shitty magazines to advertising agencies, and so on and so forth. And then I reached a level in advertising where I was like, okay, they're paying me right, like for what my job is worth. Like anybody else that went to college, I was on par with those guys, the best of them. And I kind of maxed out. I was like, what else can I do with this kind of like weird skills, right? No college degree, but I kind of have a profession. What do I do with this career? And one of my friends was like, we were at a party and these guys were like, oh, you work in advertising? I was kind of proud. I was like, yeah, I work in advertising, Like, oh, you work in advertising? Ugh, that's scummy. We're filmmakers. And I kind of was like, okay, like I felt like shit. And then I got pissed off and I was like, you know what? I can make a movie. So I went and I wrote and directed a short film, got into the film festival, invited those assholes to the Man Chinese Theater on my first try, And after that, I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. But filmmaking is such an event, like it's such a team sport. And I was like, it's too big, and pandemic hit and stuff. And I was like, what else can I do? Comedy. So we hit the parks and I started doing comedy open mics for like in front of homeless people at like Pan Pacific Park in Los Angeles and different locations like that. And now I'm doing shows at like the Comedy Chateau. I've performed at the Ha Ha. So it's a fun journey, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
What makes someone funny?
Well, there's two kinds of funnies, I think. This is just my opinion, right? There's two kinds of funnies. There's natural funny. You're natural funny, right? And then there is writing funny. You understand formula. Comedy is a formula. Everything's a formula, sadly. As much as artists want to say, I'm special, the truth of it is everybody can learn. Everybody. Anybody can do it. It's just a matter of learning the fundamentals of it and just applying it over and over and over and over. And that's kind of the thing. The only thing I'm good at is consistency. Keep trying.
Yeah, in technology, we typically call it a framework. So it's like you have to have a framework. I believe everything has a framework.
I wireframe.
Yeah. Well, wireframe is different from a framework.
No, I was just trying to show off.
All right, cool.
I'm
there
with
you
you.
go. Yeah.
Don't use fancy words around me, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's the same thing though.
Yes.
You know, it's the same thing. It's having a framework where you can go by and and just use that anytime you want to actually think things to scale. It's interesting. But yeah, all right. So you think there are two types of comedians? I don't know. I think there's variant types.
I never
of
said
comedians.
there's two types of comedians. I just said there's two lanes that like it's simple. There's the people that are naturally funny,
right?
And then there's the people that understand and
it.
study the craft,
right? I feel like you can do both.
No, of course, right? And the great ones are both. But I'm just saying. But that's you said what makes a funny person. I go, if you're just starting off, if you're not naturally funny. Right, if you're not one of those guys that's like, right, like you get on stage and you juggle and people love your face and you just, you would know if you're that, right? If you, based on your high school friends and colleges, you know if you're funny, right?
I feel like funny, like I feel what makes someone funny is when you can, when you tell a story that resonates with people.
Yeah, but that's storytelling. That's comedy in a different way, right? Like we're talking stand up, because that's what I was relating into. So. If we're talking funny in general, yeah, like screenplays and movies, they're funny too. That's a whole different level of funny, right? Like The Hangover is a funny movie. Ace Ventura, funny movie, right? But it just so happens that Jim Carrey was also a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm also talking about like I'm talking about stand-up as well, right? I'm also talking about less of a comedian. I'm talking more about, stand up because like I feel like stand up, you can write a summary script of topics and you can tell these certain jokes and you can kind of just go through them. But what always intrigues me is like what some people think is funny. Like for me, I don't like dry humor.
Yeah.
I don't like witty, dry humor. Like or sarcasm humor.
Really?
Humor. I don't like it because it's like being a dick but not. It's like I'm really, are you a dick? Are you full of shit or not? Like I don't like that. I don't like that gray area when it comes to that. I want like, are you just like a fucking asshole? Are you just talking shit, or are you being like sincere, or are you being honest, or what is your deal?
What if your honesty is a sarcastic asshole?
I don't know.
People are like that.
There's a different type, but I feel like a lot of people. There's that dry sarcasm. I don't like that.
Fair.
Anything with dry sarcasm, it sounds like you're talking shit.
Is your taste?
Yeah, it is. Some people like that. I don't like it.
I work with a person. I won't say her name, but J is her first initial. H is her last name. But okay, her name is Jill. Okay, get it out of me.
Jill Hudson.
That's hilarious. Yeah, very close. But she doesn't like cucumbers or watermelon, and those are my two favorite things in the entire world, like out of the fruits. She doesn't eat those two. And I think that's crazy to me. But that's her taste. To me, those are my two, honestly, like first cucumber, then watermelon. Those are my two favorite. Are they considered fruits? I'm an idiot, so I don't know. But I think they're fruits. But those are my two favorite, like fruits. If you say, out of all the fruits in the world, pick two, I'm picking those two, to live off forever. She hates those. So it's taste. You know what I mean? It's subjective, my point. So somebody might love sarcastic, dry humor. Some people might like totally love it. But you're just like, eh. And that's what's interesting, right? It's like, how do you navigate as a comedian to make everybody or most people like you?
I feel like there's just like I think there's like a more of a general type of a comedian that mostly everybody can resonate with. I feel like everybody won't resonate with the same comedian, but I feel like there's a general comedian.
Well, the great ones get most people. Like right. Leno.
Yeah.
Leno gets everybody, I feel. Right?
Yeah, but you can kind of tell. Jay's. He's being sarcastic, but it's playful.
But my point is, he has mastered that to get to that level.
Right, but it feels like it's not offensive though. Like there's a lot of people who go around as comedians and they're like, Oh, I was telling a joke, and they're just like a smart ass. And it's like, dude, are you talking shit, bro?
That's early stages. Like me, I'm there.
No, I mean,
you know what I mean, though? That's early. Like the longer you go, it's like a sculptor, right? Like Michelangelo sculpted the David out of one block. You know what I mean? He had to get there to be able to do that. Like,
what's your obsession with Michelangelo?
I'm obsessed with Leonardo.
Oh, it's Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah.
What's your obsession with this?
He was a curious person, and you know, when, like, okay, this is gonna sound crazy, but why not, right? Let's pretend there's a safe space for a sec. When I was a kid, I had an invisible friend as a child, right? Self-coping mechanism. And then when I came to America, between the ages of 10 to 14, I didn't speak English, so nobody talked to me. And by the way, my name is Arash. It's spelled Arash, Arash. So everybody just made fun of me. I don't blame them. I'd make fun of me too, right? But so I had no friends. So I had to go into my own imagination, and right? And so I had invisible friends and whatever in my head, and I would like play with myself. And then I discovered, like, I would do things, like different things. You know, curiosity hits you, right?
You were playing with yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
Hasn't stopped. It will never stop. Till I'm dead. But like, so, and then I was like, oh my God, it's so much fun to learn different things, right? And eventually, as I grew up, I discovered Leonardo da Vinci, and I was like, wow. He was kind of an outcast. Not that I'm an outcast, like whatever, but he was people thought he was a weirdo, and everything he did, he was like naturally good at. I'm not comparing my natural abilities to his natural abilities in any way, but you know, we all have gifts, you know, and like creativity, vague as that is my kind of gift, right? Again, I think it's from being a kid that played with himself for so many years. I think your brain develops a certain way, right? So. And then I was like, wow, this guy did everything. He basically invented, of course, we all know he was a master painter. He was a master sculptor. He dissected people. I don't want to do that, but that's cool, you know, when it was a rebellious thing to do. Also, people might not know this. It's assumed that he was gay, which I think is cool, because like you have to be very brave back then, because it was like, so he lived a very crazy life. You know, he was bullied, right? I'm not gay, but I had a messed up name. Right, so there was like he had a cool name, Leonardo, but he was also he's a bastard child, right? So he didn't really have a mother. He had a father, but I had a mother, right? One parent, and he was basically able to be in many rooms with many different people, and was able to actually learn, conversate, contribute to all kinds of. If he was in a room with a sculptor, right, Donatello, they could rap in my head. You know, they'd be like, yeah, this is techniques, cool. What do you do? This is what I do, right? If he was in a room with painters, he can rap, right? But what do you do? This is what I do. He was in a room with inventors, he can talk, right? Yeah, this is my invention. What's your invention, right? If he was in a room with stage designers, he did. And honestly, and keep going. He was a map. He created a map, like a one-to-one map that's almost as accurate as if there was a satellite image of it, which is incredible if you think of like his inventions. He had war inventions. He was able to come up with weapons. Obviously, he was able to come up with different ways of like routing the water in different cities to help with energy and sewage. So he did everything, literally everything, and I just fascinated with people like that. And more importantly, he just didn't write about it and think about it. He often executed these things, which is insane. Like the world's first helicopter, he's contributed. The world's first parachute, Leonardo. Under the scuba shit, Leonardo. You know, like all these things are all his. And sure, back then not a lot of things were invented, so he had that advantage. But what a human! Like what a superhuman. He's equivalent to Elon, except he was never chasing necessarily wealth. Leonardo was always like, he was almost like an art. If he was alive today, I think one of the things he would do, he would be an art director, kind of like what I do from my day job. I think he would be, because you get to touch many different things. And so that's my thought, and I'm fascinated. And
what's going on here, man? You
I'm tangent.
Touch many things. You play with yourself. Are you okay?
No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay at all.
No. Seriously, no. I get your point about.
You get it? And
I
that's
get
why
your
I'm
point about
fascinated
Leonardo.
with him.
Right.
All of it. I jokingly say third best in every room. I know you don't like that.
I fucking hate that.
But to me it's funny, but because it's like, what, third? Like, but in every room, being number 3, because 3 you're still on the podium. You're not a loser.
See, I like to say this. I like to say, like, everything I like to be able to do, I like to do it to the quality of at least 80 to 90%.
Yeah, that's third place.
No.
You get podium.
No, I think
Podium.
80% and 90%. But I'm not saying like in as far as like any room I go into per se, things that I'm able to do. So for example, when I'm putting together the pod, I'm thinking about, what's an audio technician or audio engineer need to do. I need to make sure that I get the audio engineering quality up to 80 minimal.
Right.
90%.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
I don't always go for 100% because 100% is almost perfection, and it's harder to actually hit that. And I feel like 80%, appeals to most people. 90% is fucking amazing.
But see, you're talking audio, right?
Right.
Again, because I chased that Da Vinci life, I can talk audio with you right now.
Right.
So where you at? Between 6 and 18? Like -6 and -18? Is that where the sweet spot is for your...
For what? My sound leveling?
For sound leveling?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
go
the sweet
18
spot?
negative lufs.
There you go. See, I can talk to you about that because I also do, you know what I mean? I try to learn as much as possible, and I do because it's fun. Like you have so much I can learn from, and the fact that maybe I can impress you a little bit by saying, oh, this guy is not totally full of shit. He knows a little bit about everything. To me, that's fun because I like having cool friends. By cool friends, I mean, yeah, you might be a good person. Yeah, you might have great, but really, I'm fascinated by doers, and to me, there's nothing sexier than having friends that are doers. You know what I mean?
No, I know totally what you mean. It empowers you and inspires you. I love it.
It inspires me so much.
Makes you want to go more.
It inspires me. I just go, wow, look at my friends. Like look at these people that call me their friend. You know what I mean? Like, holy moly, right? I get goosebumps thinking of, I have some friends that are CEOs, right? This guy, I went and visited him, Eric Lundgren. He's CEO of Big Battery. I just went and visited his new facility. I'm like, holy moly, this kid's way younger than me. He's such a genius, and he runs this big company, and it's the size of Costco, his office, and he just keeps doing crazy inventions. He recycles Tesla batteries. He's doing good work for the planet. But just people like that, people like you, I got another friend of mine, Chris. He is he has a big part with this brand Municipal clothing line, and he's a VP of creative. He has some fancy title over there, but I love that guy. He's such an inspirational story, such doers, and I'm so inspired by these people, I got a friend that just so happened to be my neighbor that I just recently met. His name is Slim Boogie. He's a dancer. He actually works with Chris Brown and many other people. He's collaborated. Incredible talent, if you see how he dances, because I'm not the biggest dance fan, all around dance, Dancing with the Stars, I can live without that kind of stuff. But what he does is art. He story tells, with his body and that kind of stuff. It's just, I don't know. This town is such a beautiful place, and the more of those people I could kind of be inspired by, and for them to just also look at me and be like, you're a real one too. Nothing makes me happier than that, No amount of money, no amount of fame would ever replace a one-on-one relationship with somebody that I respect and admire creatively. I'm emotional right now thinking about it.
Is LA trash?
So I have a joke about that. Because, I consider myself being born here, even though I came at 10 years old, but that's all I know is LA. I always go, LA's always, people always LA's full of fake people. LA's full of fake people. I'm like, you know why LA's full of fake people? Because all you people moved here. Okay? Before you guys moved here, LA was awesome. LA was full of gang members and artists. And sometimes they would fuck and give birth to graffiti artists. LA was the best. Now LA's full of fake people because and it's not though, it's a joke, but it's a little bit of truth in that is that everybody comes here to chase their dreams, and that's amazing. But now you have to basically, it's harder for people to get discovered because there's so much, right? The cloud is darker. So you have to shoot through it. Your light has to be brighter than it even needed to be because the clouds are darker, Do I sound like an asshole?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like that's pretty awesome. So let's talk about this too. Who's your favorite comedian?
Many, but I like to go. My personal favorite, if I had to say, if I can be in a room with one, Ricky Gervais.
Cool. Why?
Yeah, I love him because he says what he wants. Hilarious, When he was poor, he talked about being poor, pulled it off. Now that he's filthy rich, he talks about being filthy rich, pulls it off. But he's just a real one, He's also an animal lover. Like me, I don't think he doesn't want to have kids. He's with a girl that he never married, but is with for life, which I think is super romantic, more than people that get married, because maybe I'm just old fashioned or new fashioned, but staying with somebody when you don't have to, because marriage kind of like makes it a little harder to break up when you don't have that and you still stay together. That would be a rom-com, and Ricky Gervais is living that life. And yeah, he's all about animals, and most importantly, I think he's a creative genius, like comedy, writing, directing, producing. Yeah, he's my hero.
Who's more funnier, Eddie Murphy or
Eddie Murphy?
Eddie Murphy. Why?
Or who?
Oh no,
Who are you gonna say though? I mean, come on, he paved the way, but who?
I would say, if you were looking at it, I would say probably, who's your most funniest comedian? I would say probably right now, like there's Chris Rock, and there's like Eddie Murphy, and there's a lot of people saying Chris Rock is so funny, but it's like, was he ever that funny?
Eddie Murphy or Chris Rock?
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock was what do you mean is incredibly funny.
I find Chris Rock funny, but I find Eddie Murphy just like, I don't know, just ridiculously fucking funny.
Well, Eddie Murphy is one of the GOATs. Eddie Murphy goes on Mount Rushmore.
Who are the GOATs to you?
I mean, for me, God, I'm so not qualified on this. But if I was to, with my humble list, I would say George Carlin, Eddie Murphy. For me, right? There's like you would say George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Ricky Gervais. This is just my GOAT. This is a wrong list. There's many people that deserve to be on there more. Richard Pryor, right? And Chappelle has to go on there just because look what he's achieved. I put Joe Rogan on there just because Joe Rogan. Okay, would you say Joe Rogan is the funniest comedian in the world compared to like a Chappelle? I don't know. Maybe it's subjective, but he's been so good for the culture. Like what he's preached is like he's preached love and positivity with his stuff. He's always like, you bring up the guy next to you. Everyone's like makes fun of like, oh, you listen to Joe Rogan podcast, but everybody does, like I'm not as embarrassed to listen to somebody that's awesome. Like, I'm sorry, give the person their dues for doing something. But not only I've learned so much from that podcast because similar to yours, he has eclectic guests. Like, I'm a relatively nobody, but you still have me because maybe I have an interesting story possibly, right? Which is awesome. You're not only going for clickbait. This guy has a bazillion followers, right? I have 400 followers on Instagram, but you still got me on here. It's very nice of you, and I appreciate that. And Joe Rogan does that too. He gets Elon Musk, but he also gets a guy that nobody might know that maybe shines some light on somebody, that he thinks deserves it. And I've learned so much from that show. So he goes on there too, just because he is a big part of comedy, And I think that's it. Those would be. I'm gonna stop there for now.
Yeah, I think I like there's Eddie Murphy, there's Tommy Davidson, there's the Wayne brothers. There's
I just saw Damon Wayans perform 3 nights ago. He just popped into the haha.
Wow,
how cool! He's such a G, bro. I walked up to him. I go, "Hey, I'm a comic. Can I ask you a question?" He goes, "Sure." I was like, "The first half, were you just riffing?" He's like, "Yep." I'm like, God damn, there's levels to this shit. Because he was so funny and he was just riffing, you know, funnier than I could ever wish to be. And that wasn't even his material. He was just like thinking out loud.
I don't know. I saw I think there was a Netflix special that he had, and it wasn't as funny as it used to be. I was like, man, what's this? This
But
is
people
dry.
get rich and like.
It was dry. Like even Eddie Murphy is not funny like he used to be. His movies are just like,
But don't forget.
But he's fucking. You go Beverly Hills Cop? What? Trading places.
First 48 or
the
48.
Golden Child.
The Golden Child.
A bird up on the tree.
That Eddie Murphy laugh is classic. Yeah, that is honestly what's more. Think of that. It's like Just Do It.
Yeah.
Eddie, like Nike's logo, that laugh, that noise that he makes when he laughs. Like those things are forever embedded in.
I love that shit. There was I forgot which movie it was on, one of Eddie Murphy's, but he goes like, you know, he said, I have two daughters. I have two twin daughters with pigtails, Monique and Unique. So like when people always be like, hey man, do you have any, you have any daughters? I said, yeah, Monique and Unique. If you get it, you get it, you know. But if you don't,
that's funny.
You know, it's funny, dude. You know,
I was watching Jimmy Kimmel and Martin. God, what is it?
Martin Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Oh my God, he used to be hilarious.
He still is, but like, so he was on there promoting something new, and he just Jimmy Kimmel just dropped this on him. It was fascinating. He's like, hey, is it true that your daughter is dating Eddie Murphy's son? Because that's dope. And then he said what everybody's thinking is like, those are going to have a super comedy baby, like super comedy child baby. Because you know how maybe it skips a generation? So let's just say it skips a generation. That kid's going to be a G, bro. Like imagine those two as your lineage of just natural, right? Like who didn't love Martin? Like come on, I grew up with that, you know.
Damn Gina.
Or was it Shanae?
Shanae, yeah.
Years ago.
Was that Shanae? Was it Shanae? I can't remember.
In Living Color, and Martin had almost like a very similar. Jamie Foxx, shout out Jamie, one of the he goes on my Mount Rushmore tour.
Yeah,
Jamie Foxx.
Of course, you got to put it there. He was super funny. He's still funny.
I want to also include Jamie Foxx for the record on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx, really great guy.
My favorite. He's probably my favorite out of Ricky Gervais's favorite comedian, but as a favorite overall Leonardo da Vinci kind of person, Jamie Foxx and Childish Gambino, aka Danny Glover. Those two are my idols.
You know, I'm digging the Jamie Foxx. I think Childish Gambino is super talented.
Oh boy, what are you gonna say about Childish Gambino, bro? Mr. Glover here.
I just don't. I don't know. I think he's a genius in his own right. But something about
Whether
it.
you're a genius or not.
Something about it for me about him. It's just I just don't.
Is it because he's young?
No, it's just like there's this cornballness that I get from him.
Oh,
that's cheesiness.
You see cheesiness. I see childhood curiosity.
There's like an awkwardness.
I see childhood creativity.
I don't know. I just feel like there's an awkwardness that I just can't click with him on. You know, I think he's super talented.
And Kanye's up there too. Forget his. I'm only talking about achievements. I can only talk about achievements, right?
I can click with Kanye.
Yeah.
I just can't click with Childish Gambino.
Really?
And I think he's amazingly talented. I think his show Atlanta is really amazing content and show, but I can't watch it because it's just like, it's all right.
It's fair. It's subjective. Unfortunately,
but he's done a lot of amazing things, so I don't want to sit there and like I'm not going to bash him.
Think of all the arenas those two can.
He's very talented.
But Jamie Foxx and Danny Glover, those two can walk into so many rooms and just be like straight up like Da Vinci, you know? Like, I'm here, mother effers. Give me the mic and get the F out of my fucking way. What's this shit? And boom, 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 right? It's crazy. Give me a mic. Give me a pen. Give me a camera. Give me all of it. Childish Gambino, bro. Danny Glover. Like, all of it.
It's like, wait, is Jamie Foxx married? He has a lot of kids too, right?
Who knows? I don't know anything about him.
A lot of these guys.
I don't know anything about him.
A lot of guys have you see a lot of celebrities with a lot of kids, and a lot of times some of them are not married, which is fine. I mean, I think marriage almost is somewhat, historic.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like in the past. I don't know if it's like people are still doing it, but I feel like marriage is like it's harder to justify these days, especially for men when you get like all your shit taken from you. No matter what, you're fucked.
Well, okay.
There's no good deal of it for you.
Fair. I agree. But also, that to me personally, I want to flash back to the Ricky Gervais thing I was saying. Is I think it's more romantic to stay together. If you don't have kids, that is. If you have kids, get married so your kids could be like mom and dad are married and, you know, they're not awkward. But if you don't have kids and you really love each other, you can throw a party that's like a wedding kind of party, like to get that out of the system. But there's no reason to get married because both of you are going to be miserable if anything, but again, if you have to separate, it's going to suck. But if you don't separate, it's the coolest thing. Muy romántico. That's a Spanish.
Very.
That's Spanish.
Sí.
Oh, you speak? Yeah. Oh, ¿hablas español?
Sí. ¿Tú entiendes?
¿Tú?
¿Tú entiendes?
To Tinder. Oh yeah, I don't go on Tinder. No.
No, mira, I understand, boss.
Oh.
No entiendes nada, nunca.
Mexican food is my all-time favorite, and I can order like a professional. I can be there. Oh, hola, señora, por favor, carne asada burrito, no frijoles, por favor.
Ah, sí.
Gracias.
¿Poquito?
Grande.
Ah, grande, sí.
Por favor.
No más.
Mucho más.
Ah, sí, claro.
Gracias.
Ah, sí.
Not bad, right? I can order.
Bien.
But I think that's just my duty as a Los Angeles guy.
Ah.
You know. Also, like we're from LA. We're not Angelinos. Okay, can we put a stop to that? Angelino. That sounds like a horrible restaurant.
I think it was like because it was like the quote unquote. I don't like when they say this, but like the Afro-Mexicana lady who supposedly it was named after,
right?
Or indigenous lady, yeah. Sure,
and no offense to any of those people, but to me, it just sounds like a crappy restaurant.
Yeah.
Hey, don't eat at the Angelino.
There was a girl I used to work with. Her name was Angelina.
Jolie?
No.
Angelino.
No,
Jolie.
her name was Angelina. Angelina. And I remember this old creepy guy that used to work there. He would say, "Ooh, Angelita."
Ooh,
I was like, "What?
It's always an old.
What are
creepy
you
guy.
talking about?"
It's always an old creepy guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh la la. One day I hope to become that old creepy guy.
I don't think you want to become this guy.
That means you've lived a long life.
Right. Wow. Eddie Murphy, though. Trading Places.
Great.
Golden Child.
Solid.
Yeah. Amazing guy. Jamie Foxx. What? Ray. Right?
Incredible.
What other ones? He's a banger.
Ollie.
Yeah. Can't leave it out. And he's about to do Tyson.
Tyson's coming up.
Jamie Foxx doing Tyson. That's going to be an epic movie. Can't wait to watch it.
His impression is so dead on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just such a fan of these guys. And that's why I do these things, just to spiritually get a little closer to these guys. You know what I mean? Just because, I admire these people so much.
I don't know. I think I'm more like when I like comedy, I like just grittier comedy that just.
What do you want? What kind of, like what?
I'm saying that just like it resonates, right? It resonates with anybody you speak to.
Oh,
they don't have to be a part. They don't have to be a part of the culture, but they just get that shit.
That's
and
so
Eddie Murphy,
hard.
but I think
for the word everybody, that's such a difficult thing to achieve.
And I don't want to say everybody, but I'm saying the majority just get that shit. It's just funny. You don't have to be in the same culture. You don't have to know that same thing, but you just kind of know, and it's just hella funny. Like when Eddie Murphy would tell fucking jokes, like, you know, like everybody didn't have a kid named Monique and Unique, but everybody knew the name just sounded funny. It was Monique and it was Unique. It's just hilarious.
It's funny.
You know, it was just like, you know, when he was in Golden Child and, you know, he was in the Tibet temple and he's like, and you know, there was a Tibetan guy and he's like, she asked him, she goes, you have to, you know, ask him please, or you have to request it, if I'm paraphrasing that right. And he's like, he looks, he's like, that's the he said, that's the guy that was the guy who stole my dollar bill. You know, that was the guy, little naked guy walking around with a dollar bill. Everybody, what's this guy? Like, that's just hella funny. I don't care who you are.
No, it's funny. It's universal funny. But
and then let me finish. I gotta finish this shit. And then he goes on, like, I'm gonna bring you back. And then when he goes on like this like wooden thing in the wall, and he has to request, he goes, want the mic, please. You don't have to be Tibetan. You don't have to be. I
need to rewatch it.
Whatever. You're just gonna be like, what is that, dude? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
He's got the gift.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop. You know, he you know, he said, hey Axel, I thought you weren't a thief, and he breaks inside of the cars, and he's like, and he tells a joke. He's like, yeah, but I forgot what the joke was, where he would say, but it was hella funny.
And then he do that laugh at the end of it.
Yeah.
I can't do it, but I love it.
But that's a signature. But like, it doesn't matter who you are. It resonates.
Okay, that's true. But when you're doing stand up, it's hard because one, it's a very hard thing to do. Okay.
What about Raw? He killed it.
No. But Eddie Murphy is one of one in a bazillion. You know,
and I need that. I'm not easily amused.
But Eddie Murphy is one in a bazillion. Like he's one.
I agree with you, but I'm not easily amused.
Right. But
I need a Martin. I need to laugh.
Fair.
If you tell me some corny,
would you laugh? I'm curious if you would laugh at my sets, because I try to make points. Me and a buddy of mine, Paul Roseberry, he's a comedian, he's a funny guy. We're talking about the nuances of comedy, and the thing is, you can go before. Okay, so for example, a Dave Chappelle or one of these big, huge names. Okay, one of my favorite comedians, Earthquake, check them out. These guys, they're at a certain level. When people go and visit them or to watch them perform, they already know a little bit about them. So they don't necessarily need to win the crowd over, because they've already won the crowd over through their very long, illustrious careers. You know what I mean? Is that a word? They've won the crowd over. But like if you're a new comedian and no one knows and you're performing, you got 5-10 minutes maybe. If you go in there and just start doing jokes right away, right? People might not. Because a lot of times the crowd, people are sitting with their hands crossed, kind of like this a little bit, There's a guy, and I don't blame him. I've been that guy in the audience. You're like, I'm enjoying this with my girl, but I'm not gonna laugh at this douchebag. My girl, like, screw this guy. You know what I mean? He's gonna earn my laugh. So when you're a comedian, you go on stage, before you start doing your jokes, you have to acknowledge the crowd a little bit and start having like a conversation with them. Right, like one of my opening lines is I talk about hobbies, right? And I have a joke about, I go, guys, hey, how's it going? What's going on, guys? Does anybody? Oh, sorry. I go, hey, what's going on, guys? How's it going? Yeah. And I'll find a couple. I'll be like, oh, you guys are a cute couple. Do you guys live together? And they'll be like, yeah, right, hopefully. And I'll be like, cool. Tell me if this has ever happened to you. The other day, I was at home minding my own business, and my girlfriend walked up and goes, you know what? You need a hobby. And I looked at her and I said, what do you think you are? Right? And then that gets a little laugh because it's kind of messed up. And I'm like, but then, my girlfriend, she just like shrugs her shoulders, starts texting. And I'm like, who are you texting? And she's like, my hobby. Right? And then so like the crowd laughs again because she won. Right? And I'll go, she always wins. And then I'll be like, but yeah, she's right. Like, I need a hobby. Does anybody here have hobbies? And then I'll start crowd working and asking, and people will throw out hobbies that they have, and I'll try to like be silly. And then once that moment, and that's a version, right? Like there's a bazillion ways of doing that. Once that happens, then the crowd might open up to you, and then now they'll laugh at your jokes.
Right. I feel like what you're saying is like breaking the ice. But I feel like, what makes somebody almost, I don't even say great. They don't have to be great, but somebody's going to consistently hit in the pocket. It's like you just said this joke. The joke was like, you said, you went in there and you said, to your girl, you said to the couple, you said, hey, look, what's your, she said to you, like, do you have a hobby or something?
Well, no, I find the couple first and I see, can you guys relate to this story?
Right. But I'm going on the story, right? Paraphrasing it. Yeah. That you said, like, do you have your hobby? And you said, hey, what do you think you are?
My girl sees me sitting down quiet. Doing nothing, and she's like, you know what, you need a hobby. And then I look at her and I say, what do you think you are? Right? Because she's the hobby, right? Ha ha ha.
I think the problem about that particular joke is it's dry.
There you go.
It's like you have to.
That's what I'm saying. I'm curious.
You have to hold up and get that one. But when we were at the taqueria, you told one that was really funny about the different cultures and like how they do things. I think it's about how you tell them.
It's in the moment. So this is not a joking.
No. I moment. I know. But I'm just saying.
I'm all nerd.
But also another thing too. You don't have animation in your eyes.
Here.
You don't have animation. No. I'm just saying, like
in general.
Yeah, like there's not much animation in your eyes. Your eyes just look very serious sometimes.
Now?
Yeah.
Well, because I'm nervous.
Okay.
On stage, I'm comfortable because it's like I get to be a goofball, right? I hold the mic, I walk around a little bit. I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? What's up, right? But here I'm matching your energy, which
Got
is
it.
professional, fun.
Yeah. It could
fun,
be. It could be.
fun,
It could be
fun,
fun.
funitional, professionally fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just think like comedy is hard, right? I'm not a comedian, but I think comedy is hard. But I also think it's like there's a talent for just like sparking up that conversation, and I feel like, you know, it's about telling jokes that resonate, but the right jokes that resonate, and it's timing. And I feel like that's a skill, because like even when you just said that like kind of soft joke, it's like, oh, I got a hobby. What do you think you are?
You are.
Yeah, it's like
Al Bundy thing, you know.
Right, but it's like, but if you say, what do you think you are? Like, do you see how that, like, even just the execution and the cadence of that changes the way if you're gonna laugh.
I didn't want to yell into the mic.
No.
Out of respect to her.
No, I'm just saying like even just how you do it, or like, but even that is like it's a funny joke, but it's still like it's like it's dry, kind of quirky humor.
But again, it's very strategic because a couple things. One,
I believe it's strategic for sure. Go ahead.
Right, a couple of things. One, I'm trying to be relatable to somebody when the audience sees that I'm like kind of talking directly to somebody. If I'm talking to one of them, I'm still talking to all of them. Right there, the wall is broken. I'm not on stage like I'm great, blah blah blah. Laugh at this, right? I'm like, I'm human like you guys. This happened to me. Let's laugh. And then I ask questions. They talk back, and now we've connected. And once we've connected, then they'll honestly, most of the time, laugh at my jokes, even if they're not funny. They'll still just maybe like you at that point and be like, oh, we like them, you know? Have you ever bullshitted with one of your friends who's funny, but he's not like hilarious funny, but he's funny, like you love him, and like when he says things, it's hilarious? It's kind of like that too. So it's all about crowd work. That's what I'm learning. If I get the crowd on my side first, then I can go into my material, because my material right now in this stage, I'm talking about things like I'm Persian, and there's a huge plastic surgery thing that's happened in the Persian culture. Well, in all of the world, kind of.
Kim Kardashian started. Sorry.
Yeah, but Iranians have been getting nose jobs since, for a very long time. But I'm not a fan of extensive plastic surgery. Like, you get a one or two, you get a thing here and there, sure. But when you do too much, you look like a witness protection person, right? Like, who you running from? And so I go hard on the plastic surgery people in my bit. But I have to first get there so people understand that I'm like joking, but hopefully they could think about it. I talk, so hopefully they can think about it. And like, one of the things I go is, next time you're rejecting somebody that used to look like you, just remember, you're still ugly, but it's just on the inside now, But to get to that line and for people to want to laugh at that line, there's a lot of work that I have to do, because as I just said it right now, it might sound very offensive, right? But on stage, to be able to say that, to get there, you have to be like, oh, he's not a real asshole. He's just kind of like working us to get to that line, and then they'll laugh, right? If I do a good job of getting people to understand this, connecting the dots till we get there. And that's the beauty of comedy. Like, one word in the wrong place, and it's a difference between crack ups or like arms crossed.
No, I agree with you. It could be challenging.
Just saying.
So yeah, man. So growing up in LA or being in LA, like there are these struggles that exist. Being a creative person or a person in the entertainment industry, being an artist.
Sure.
I
dabble in all of it. I try.
Yeah. How do you think you navigate your priorities? Because we were talking earlier about navigating your priorities and being focused on things instead of being a jack of all trades. Because there is this big thing of being LA, being the jack of all trades, and I'm a triple threat. I'm a blah blah blah. I'm a plumber, but I'm also occasionally a fucking.
I'm also a doctor,
engineer, and I'm a doctor, and I'm also a gynecologist in my spare time, and I mean, come on, like an archaeologist when I'm sleeping.
Archaeologists are so cool.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, what's that? How do you do it?
Okay, well, I think for me personally, it comes from my advertising background. As an art director, you have to do everything. That's what an art director does. An art director pulls designs, pulls copy, pulls this. You're like Quentin Tarantino is kind of an art director director, because he takes from movies. He calls it homage, but I think like he pushes the homage a little too far for my taste. Even though he's one of my favorite directors of all time, because I do direct as well and I study these greats, and he's one of my favorites. But Tarantino gets a little asterisk next to him because a lot of his scenes you can find in other movies, and he takes like multiple scenes. And even though he's paying homage, I go at some point you got to stop paying homage and start paying residuals at some point, you know what I'm saying? But so my whole thing is being an art director, you have to, as an art director, you're the one who has to deliver at the end. When there's a pitch, right? When there's a client, you have to deliver. So you have to be able to design, you have to be able to think, you have to be able to write, you have to be able to, if it's more than design, if it's like a video, you have to be able to edit, right? You have to be able to shoot that. Like you have to do it all now. And that's where my skills have developed, and I'm able to take those skills, and they pay you, right? Which is great. And money's a tool. So I'm able to take those and chase my dreams, right? Chase comedy, chase directing, chase writing. And advertising gives me that ability, right? And that's but you gave me some good advice. You were like, you need to specialize in something, mother effer. Stop trying to like do all of it. And I'm like, but it's so much fun. But you're like, but you're not gonna get anywhere. And I'm like, you're right. So that's the growth that I'm learning as well, is to specialize in one thing. Because I got into comedy. I got into comedy not because I've just wanted to be a comedian since I was a kid. Like, you know, you don't, when you grow up poor, like you don't get to dream. Like these kids, like a lot of these kids, and that's why you see a lot of these white people in the industry. Like no offense to white people in any way, but I'm saying the more white people than any other race, because their families are well-to-do, or their families are like, leave and do what you want, right? We support you, but there was no, or they were like, we don't need you to support us. Just go on your own. You don't have to come here and bring money in for the family, right? And the rest of us, you grow up in a family situation where you have to help. So you don't get to dream till you're later in life. Whenever people say, I've been doing it for 17, people clap. He's been doing it at 16 years old. I think, fuck that lucky guy. He got to start at 16. I was scooping ice creams, you know, like that was this guy got to go to comedy club at 16, you know, like that. What a cool opportunity, right? What a privileged life that you were able to do that, versus having to, no one's clapping for me and you for working at Baskin Robbins or Thrifty's ice cream. These are my journey. I've had many jobs. I've worked everywhere, but like, so it's a different thing how I look at it, right? I still cheer for these guys, and it's incredible, and they inspire me. But at the same time, I'm always like, of course you got to do it. That's why he's where he is, and I'm so far behind right now because I started at 35, where, you know.
I don't know. I believe that, you know, everybody has their own time for whatever they're supposed to do. And not everybody's meant to be a celebrity, but some people are. Yeah. But if everybody thought that, you know, oh, I'm at this age, so therefore now I'm not meant to be a celebrity, or I'm not meant to be famous, or I'm not meant to be rich or wealthy, and they just give up at a certain age, then they won't actually fulfill what they're supposed to do. And I think like you kind of have to look at things in a way where it's like, all right, well, you know, I'm at this age. Maybe I had to go through a certain amount of struggles or experiences for me to perfect what I needed to be doing.
You use the trigger word. I just got to jump in for a second.
Dig it, yeah.
I personally don't want to be a celebrity or famous. I just want to clarify for my personal self, right? Like, I don't know if you want to be a celebrity or famous, but like, I want just enough recognition to have it as a tool to be able to do cool things also. It's a wave, right? I want the wave, but I don't want to be like a celeb. You know what I mean? Those guys, they live a horrible life. It might sound great, but imagine you can't like go to the airport without 70 people taking photos of you. You can't go to a restaurant. Eminem, again, we talked about this once, but Eminem said a story about he was taking a shit, and these guys were lined up outside his toilet asking him to sign while he's taking a shit. He's trying to buy his kid ice cream. Like those things, people think being famous is great. Like, you know what I mean? Be careful what you ask for, because it's not. I think what's great about fame is the opportunities it gives you. But if you really look at fame, like look at all the famous people, you know, that's why you don't see people outside, right? They they lose their freedom in a way. They get a bunch of other stuff, and so they can't complain. They become princes of our society, or princesses, or oligarchs, right? Like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Those guys are oligarchs. I know we're calling them billionaires, but they're very powerful people, right? And they're kind of almost above the law in many cases. So, but good for them, capitalism, God bless it. But that comes at a cost. Elon Musk may be a billionaire, but Elon Musk can't go to a park and look at the swans for 30 minutes, right? And that's a cool thing to be able to do, and no one give a F about you. That's an amazing thing too, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I grew up around, celebrities. I've always been around celebrities, and when I was like 21, I was asked, do I want to sign, a record deal and things like that, and I was like, I turned it down for where it was, and the reason why is because,
Good for you.
I guess maybe, I don't know, but
I don't know if I had that in me at that age.
Well, I mean, like the producer, he was just like, hey, look, he kind of did producing, and he also ran things for the label, and he was just like, hey, look, I've seen people before, and he's like, I worked with this celebrity before, and I worked with this celebrity before, and these are some, really big people, and he was just like, hey, I noticed when somebody has something, and he said, and I also noticed that you seem to like your freedom.
Yeah.
And he's like, you got a nice girlfriend, you have freedom. He said, but I'm going to tell you something. If you continue with this, I don't see you having that freedom that you like.
Yeah.
He said, so I don't.
You were conscious enough to understand the meaning of that.
Yeah. Well, he was conscious enough.
Well, you also were able to grasp what that meant. That's a vague thing. That's kind of vague still, though.
Yeah, I kind of knew what it was. I mean, so for me, like, I never had a problem where, like, I would say probably, like, I always was relatively, had people coming around me.
Yeah.
So it was always kind of, if I didn't start off somewhat popular, or trendy, I just had like this.
You got that magnet in your
magnet,
yeah.
Like people just like will keep on just like coming around me, and people, even if I didn't want to be,
that's
people
how we met too. We met like that.
Yeah.
Just randomly.
Yeah.
Because you're magnets.
Yeah, there's fucking magnets. Not the opposite side that repels, but it's that type of thing. Sometimes people just have energy, and I've realized at a young age that I just had an energy, and I didn't really reflect it too much. I just kind of just knew, like, if I did certain things, sometimes people would just like click and follow me to certain things.
Sure.
And I always had like this love or hate relationship with most people. It's just like most people just either really liked me or they just fucking didn't like me.
The same way.
It wasn't like this like middle place.
There's no gray.
It was binary.
You either hate me or like me.
Yeah.
There's no whatever.
Yeah. There's no limboing in between. It's binary for total.
Good.
Yeah.
I like it that way.
I used to struggle with that because I didn't like that. I was like, well, why shouldn't somebody just not like me for no reason? And it's just, I realized there is some type of reasoning, but
it's your energy. It's just your face.
They're not you.
So many variables.
They're not you, and they feel that they could do something better than you. And why is it you, not them?
Yeah.
Weird things like that. I'm better than that person. Why does he get this?
Why does he get this?
Yeah.
I went through that. It's crazy because I went through, you go through phases.
Yeah.
I went through a cover-up phase of calling myself a creative genius. And I did it out of insecurity, right? But most importantly, I blame Howard Stern. Because Howard Stern, he's hilarious. But he was like, in an interview, he talked about why he named himself King of All Media. And he's like, yeah, nobody else was going to call me King of All Media. So I called myself King of All Media. And it stuck. I was like, branding. Cool. Got it, Howard. Right? And then I started doing it in the agency world. And, there's a lot of egos in the agency world, especially when it comes to, I'm a unique one in there because I don't come off assembly line, AKA college, So where all these guys maybe went to Pasadena Art Center or Long Beach, these like acclaimed creative schools, I was just the Kinko's guy, right? But that was my special sauce, is I didn't learn on the assembly line like the rest of them, right? I learned whatever. And so, but I started being like, yeah, I'm a creative genius. I changed my desktop name to creative genius and whatever. And I found that there was two groups of people. There was the ones that were like, I'm a genius too, let's hang out, right? And we found it funny because like it's kind of like not really true, and then they just found it funny. And then there was the ones that got offended that I would call myself a genius. And which was great because that allowed me, and I learned that became like a filtering tool for me. I would say I'm a genius, and then people either would like me or would hate me. So if you were secure enough not to be bothered by somebody saying I'm a genius, right? And you were like, oh, hilarious, prove it or show me or whatever, then we were cool. But if you were like, how dare you call yourself a genius? Like, then I was like, oh, these guys are kind of like insecure, or they get offended real fast or whatever. And I was able to filter all that. Going back, would I do that again? Yes, because it was a good time. It was fun. But do I recommend people doing it? Probably not, because I did create a lot of like tension for myself. But I was able to filter a lot of people, and if you really know your honest intentions, then it doesn't hurt at the end. But me calling myself a genius caused a big riff. But to this day, if you come to my office, people will be like, oh, that's Arash, she's a creative genius. They'll say that. But they don't mean it. They're just on the inside joke with me. And then because we're cool, always follow by saying self-proclaimed creative genius, right? I give the power back, and I make myself look like an idiot. But it's all for the fun,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Killing it, softly in a way.
Well, you got to filter people around you too, because LA is full of
shits. Yeah, fakeness. There's a lot of fakeness here.
There's a lot. There is. Yeah. It not necessarily fake, but broken dreams.
Yeah, and people get bitter, and they're looking to scam people.
That becomes bitter, and that becomes anger or whatever. Yeah.
I think the reason why a lot of people get broken dreams is because a lot of people just have lack of self-awareness, from what I've gathered, and people just aren't willing to. They're not that resilient. They're not willing to keep going. If it doesn't happen in a year or two, my timetable and my time clock or watch, whatever, is going out, and I've got 5 years. And if it isn't done, I've got to stop and do something else, because I've got to have kids. I've got to have this and whatever in life, and that's just how it works.
And also, yeah, absolutely. And
but that's not reality.
Resilience is everything, right? Like, I was homeless, right? I lived in a storage unit for 1 year in Canoga Park, and I lived in a storage unit for a year. I lived in a Ford Mustang for a couple months, and then I slept on a friend's couch for 2 months. And so that was like almost a year and a half of my life right there, right? Consecutively. And the only reason, the reason why I did that is because it turned out I was a shitty poker player. But also, I understood that I need to live below my means in order to level up. Like, if you don't have a dad, if you don't have family money, if you don't have anything like that, you gotta like level up somehow, right? And for me, I joined the World Series of Poker. I was playing poker professionally for a while, right? And after about a year of that, I realized that, oh my God, I was doing kind of okay. I was living in Commerce Casino. It's a casino down in LA. And then I got the balls to go to join the World Series of Poker, and I had about like $50,000. At that point, I lost damn near like 35,000 of it, right? And I was like, oh my God, there's my life savings. What am I going to do? So instead of spending that last 15, 20,000, whatever I had left, I decided, because I could have easily, to save face, I could have rented an apartment with that money, right? I could have got a couch or whatever. By the time I do that in the first year, all that money's gone. But instead, I decided to live below my means, because I had a plan. I was like, you need a new plan. I decided to live below my means. I went back living in a storage unit in Canoga Park for a year. And then I got a job during there back in advertising, started saving, and skipping all that peeing on my friend's couch part where he kicked me out. You haven't lived, by the way, till you've peed someone's couch and you don't have any money to pay for it. I was walking up and down the streets looking for cushions to replace those cushions with, because I was so stressed. But I had a plan. I was like, I'm going to live way below my means. And then a year and a half later, after that, I went from sleeping in a storage unit to sleeping in my first condo. No furniture. But that's a weird feeling. It's two different ceilings. You know what I mean? It's a metal ceiling, and then with spiders and shit. I'm scared of it, but whatever. And then there is a condo, right? With like high ceilings. It's cool, right? And but people don't want to do that. Everybody wants to they want to play the game before they deserve to play the game. Does that make sense? They want to look the part instead of actually play the game. If you want to play, you want to look like you're playing the game, or you want to actually play the game. You get what I'm saying? Because like to really play the game, if you're not rich, of family money, you need to live below your means and give yourself opportunities to succeed. And a lot of people are not willing to do that. In my case, it was living like that for over a year and a half. Right? So it turned out well. I like to talk about it because it turned out well. If it didn't turn out well, I maybe.
That's deep. That's what they said. That's what she said. Nah, I mean, you know, you've been dating out here, man. You've been dating out here. You got a honey boo boo.
I'm not dating. I'm in a relationship
for 4 years.
For 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's cool. She is from Guatemala.
Ah, she's Guati.
Guatemala.
Yeah. That's what's up, dude.
The jungles.
How long is that?
How long have I been dating her?
Yeah, it's been like 4 or 5 years.
4 years, yeah. She's cool. Sandy, she's the love of my life.
Yeah, so you're dating still.
She's way more than I deserve.
Yeah, she is way more than what you deserve.
Honestly,
I saw her. She was way more than you deserve.
More than I deserve.
Yeah.
I'm lucky, bro.
I was going to tell her on the phone yesterday, like, what the fuck are you doing with Alex?
I live a Forrest Gump life.
Yeah.
I do. Sunday.
No, but then I realized, like, you know, I've known Alex for a while. Alex got a really great, quirky personality.
Thanks.
He's really a people person, you know, passionate, you know, fun person to be around with. So I can see why, you know.
I'm a catch.
Yeah, dude, you are. Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah, I'm telling the truth. You are. Yeah, man. You definitely are catching them. You can catch. You can catch and swim. You're a good guy.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I think life is a luxury, right? Because I lived in war, right? I'm talking war, like planes flying over, the ground shakes. Next morning, there's a hole in the ground, crater size, right? Like I lived in that. So when I came to America, I'm like, oh my God, this is like Disneyland. Because finally, when I was around 35 years old, after I bought my second condo, because the plan was always to take care of me and my mom. So I bought 2 condos next to each other. So we don't live together, but we're together. That was the plan, right? Worst case scenario, that's how it happened. But my mom found her husband and they've been very happily together. So knock on wood. But so those ended up being investment properties. But once I get those 2, I was like, my obligations as a good child is over. And that was at 35, right? My obligation. And then I just became selfish and started chasing my dreams, you know? And I get so excited to be here in LA, one of the greatest cities in the entire world. I'm a big New York and LA guy, personally. I mean, I'm an LA guy, but I respect New York so much because there would be no LA without New York. You know, you got to pay respects if you know the history of like how this country was founded and all that good stuff, right? So I'm such a LA, New York fan, and I get goosebumps thinking that I'm here, you know, and how Elon Musk likes to say we're in a simulation. Okay, whatever. Fair play to him. But to me, I just feel like I'm in a video game. Like, and I'm playing now. At 35, I started. Right, I'm 42. It's been 7 years, but since those 7 years, I've written and directed a movie. It played at the Man Chinese Theater. I do comedy in front of people. I'm ready to shoot my next pilot called Los Angeles. You know what I mean? I perform at actual comedy clubs for real audience members. And whenever I don't get booked, I take my microphone to the Venice Beach bathroom. You might catch me if you're ever interested. Come there. You'll see that I hold the bathroom hostage. These poor people are trying to take a pee. In the Venice Beach bathroom, a line always forms, and I go and I do a set. Well, these people, so they're like in line. Oh, they're in line trying to pee. Excuse me. I get so excited. They're in line trying to pee, and they're about to pee or shit their pants, and there's this asshole, me, going, "Hey guys, how's it going? I have a hobby. It's my girlfriend. Blah blah blah." Right? I'm doing my act, and if I make one person laugh, I feel good, you know. But this is our life, you know? What a great life. Honestly, we could easily be in some other crappy country, you know? And America's not perfect. We know what just happened yesterday with can you say it?
Roe versus Wade.
Roe versus Wade. Yeah. Thank you. And that was terrible. So it has its low points as well. But you know, I choose to keep going forward, you know? And hopefully it's cyclical and it'll go back the other way as it should. And women have the right to choose again. But yeah, so I get goosebumps, even though with those kind of setbacks, we're here. Like Leonardo da Vinci, this guy right here, you guys. People carry a Bible. I carry his notebook just to remind myself. You know, I don't even read it all the time. I just kind of like a preacher, you know, when he just reads like a quick verse, I'll go read one of his notes. But these guys lived in the Renaissance, and people love to like say, hey, the Renaissance, that was an incredible time. Right now, if you're lucky enough to live in LA, New York, or one of these cool cities, Austin, whatever, right? These cool cities, we shit on the Renaissance. You know what I'm saying? Like opportunity-wise, ability-wise, knowledge-wise, freedom-wise, we still like, those guys wish they were here, you know? We are the utopian future that they would have written. Utopian? I don't even know. You know, a cool future that they would have written for themselves if they could have. And for us not to take advantage of that is mind-blowing. It's baffling. Like, you're doing it. You started 10 months ago. How many episodes do you have?
I think we're at 44.
My man.
All right,
Are you
bro.
kidding me? I get excited. Like, you're like a legit doer. You've always been a doer. Since Moo Faces, you've been a doer. But like holy shit. 40 episodes in like 10 months. And this is not an easy thing, because I also I know how to do a podcast. I've shot it to learn it. I have a couple episodes called Upload Junkies, but on YouTube. but my point is, like, wow, you know. And when I see people not doing that want to do, I'm like, what are you doing?
I mean, I think I like to always go out and just fucking do it. It's for myself, but it's also for people first. You know, I feel like if there's something that I can go out there and help people, and there's some messages that I can go ahead and spread to the universe, and even for the guests, you know, I feel like the guests have an amazing story. And so if I can, you know, peel off the banana peel.
Yeah. I mean, I grew just being here today. I've never done one of these, you know, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a doer, whatever, but I have no recognition in this town, you know? I'm just another guy who puts one foot in front of another and keeps going at all costs, right? But you still have me on. And this opportunity, like, I'm normally a big goofy guy, but I got to act professional right now for a little bit. It's kind of gone away towards the end.
I mean, I think you're professional. You've done a lot of professional stuff in your career.
No, there's difference. Like,
You know?
This is a new life experience for me. No one's ever, like, sat down and asked me questions about me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm either riffing with other comics, saying inappropriate things, or in a meeting pitching or whatever. Like, I've done all that stuff, but this is a new life experience, which you gave me. You popped my cherry, baby. And see, I'm loosening up. But like that's so you're doing us people that get to be on the show, or whoever, a favor as well. It's not just, you know, for you, right? You're making a big difference for me, not just, okay, this might get 100 views, this might get whatever, 1,000 views, whatever it might get, right? That's not the thing. Is this wasn't a journey for me. This is like a checklist, bucket list. And I'm like, I got to do that. Somebody, without me asking them, said, hey, I want to ask you some questions about who you are. That's kind of a cool thing, you know? And I'm glad to have done it with you for the first time ever.
Yeah, man. Likewise, man. It's been great to have you on the podcast, man. And, you know, I feel like you have a lot of stuff to offer to the world. And I like to bring people on the pod who I think that are inspirational people, whether they see it or not. I feel that everybody has, I feel like everybody is a genius in a sense, right? And I feel like people knock that down.
Self-proclaimed.
But,
Yeah.
I always like to look for people's superpower, you know? And I feel like everyone has it. I think Einstein was the one who said, if you judge a fish's ability to climb up a tree, it would always think that it's stupid its entire life.
Right.
So for me, it's like, okay, so everyone has a superpower. Let me look for that, and then let me help glorify that, or let me help blast that, or inflate that to an extent to where it radiates to more people, so people can see that. I think it's worth seeing.
And if I may add to that, in my older age, I'm 42, so I have a little wisdom to me now. And I think I'm talking to people younger than me, never someone older than me. But, to the superpower thing is, I became the most powerful I've ever been. My version of power is when I let go of other people's opinions, right? Because, for example, I write screenplays, right? Screenplays are anywhere between, if it's a short story, 10 pages. If it's a feature, 125, 130. If you're Tarantino, 360 pages. But like, so it's a lot of words. But I'm also illiterate. When I say I'm illiterate, like I've never really read an entire book start to finish in my life. Think about that for a second. And I'm saying that you can judge me all you want. I've already made it. Sucker. But like, you know what I'm saying? I've never read a book front to cover. 1, I have ADD. 2, I'm dyslexic. Words suck. And I used to be like, damn, if I can't read, I'll never be able to write. And I realized that's not true. Just because I can't read fast, right? And I can't spell. I'm the world's worst speller. You saw did you try to read my notes earlier? I'm the world's worst.
I thought you were good.
Thank you. But it's like horrible. Not correct. So I'm the world's worst speller. But with all those things, I let go of all those things, right? And I said, I don't care if people are going to judge me if they see me at face value right away and be like, oh, if I read out loud, they're going to be like, oh, he's an idiot. Or if they read my words at first round, they're going to be like, oh, this guy can't spell for shit. But I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to write it. And then I'll hire somebody to help me with my spelling. And I have a finished product regardless, right? And that became kind of my superpower, is like, just do it. Don't worry about, and not like Nike, but you know what I'm saying? Just do it though. Like, don't worry about if you can't read. Try to write. You know what I mean? Don't worry about if you can't spell, you know?
No, man, I had a dream, you know, before I moved to Los Angeles, and it was all about me creating, you know, move faces and shit like that. And it was myself in the dream. And the end of the dream, it was just this one point where it's just like me telling myself, hey, there's one thing you have to promise me that, you know, you have to do when you wake up.
Yeah.
And that's just start.
Start.
If you don't remember anything that was, you know, shown here or discussed here in this dream, just remember to just start.
Just start.
Just start.
Yeah.
You gotta just fucking start.
Yeah.
And what's funny to me is that resonated with me because like that totally, you know, I would normally woke up and like, whoa, what a weird winky dream I had.
Right.
And just went about my day. So that was really cool.
You have cool dreams. I like your reincarnation dream. I have a screenplay about reincarnation. We bonded over that. You have crazy. It wasn't a dream though. It was like a real life thing for you, right?
I feel like it was. I feel like
you can remember.
I feel like it was a dream.
It was a dream. Okay.
But I feel like it feels real. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because you have a freak. T has a freak thing where he can remember, like you have a very good memory.
Yeah.
Which I'm very envious of because I can't remember yesterday.
I don't know. I think I have I think it varies. I have a great memory when it comes to things that are pivotal in my life.
Right.
Like these little, these nodes.
Yeah. But you
amazing,
have
life-changing
more pivotal moments that you remember.
Of course. Than most human beings. From what I've gathered.
That's one of your superpowers. Right?
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
And just if anybody, like, I just want to, because, you know, I know people listen to this and this is kind of a cool show. And if anybody, this is a cool show, but like, if anybody is trying to do creative stuff and they're just feeling kind of insecure or whatever, right? Because I always try to, in my design or whatever, when there's an intern or when there's another designer that's not feeling themselves, because I'm like the head guy in where I work, right? I'm the head creative guy underneath my creative director. And I always tell them, I go, don't worry about it. Just do it. Like again, not like Nike do it, but just like, no matter what you want to do, if you want to write, if you want to direct, if you want to do comedy, if you want to do design, creative campaign, write copy, doesn't matter what your goal is. Just open your laptop or get a piece of paper and put it in front of you and sit in front of it for an hour every day. Just think, you don't even have to do it, but just, you don't even have to put ink on paper, but go with the attempt of wanting to put ink on paper, but just sit in front of it once a day for an hour, no matter what, you know. And that's how I'm able to be. Now, I'm not terrific, but I am prolific. And prolific is not a good word. I've learned because I'm ESL, English Second Language. I used to think prolific meant like you're great because they use it. Prolific artists, right? They all often prolific writer. They pair it with amazing people. But just because you're prolific doesn't mean you're good. So I'm not saying I'm good, but you produce a lot, right? That's what prolific means. And I am prolific. I do make a lot. You know, I do produce a lot of stuff. And the way I'm able to do that is I sit there and I suffer and I sit in front of it for an hour a day. I compartmentalize, you know? So I go to my day job, I do that. and then I come inside, sit in front of my screenplay for an hour, and then I'll go do open mics comedy for an hour. You know what I mean? And I just, even if I'm sucking at it that day, no matter what, I dedicate an hour, you know? And if you do that, guys, I promise you, you're going to end up creating something very cool and meaningful for yourself. And even if other people don't like it, as long as you like it, it's your art. And that's the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, right? Like, and remember, you're amazing. You live in LA or somewhere cool. You live in America at the very least. And the world's your oyster, baby.
I'm asking you 2 more questions.
Oh, okay.
We're going to dig in this first one. Aliens. Do you believe in aliens?
Of course. Because I believe in math.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah.
Because that's one other thing that I'm super fascinated about is like the cosmos, galaxies. People like to throw multiverse around, but that's become too comic booky for me. It could exist, sure. That people say the universe is so big that it's infinite, meaning like there's one version of you that's done everything a bazillion different type ways, you know? I don't know if I believe in that or not.
I don't believe it.
It's too, like, from my dumb brain, it's too big, so maybe not. But what does make sense is, so let's talk for a second. So the universe, right, is, they say it's like whatever billions of years old, whatever the light they can reach. Excuse me, the hand in your shot. Sorry, the light that comes in, right? And they're able to know that because then the light stops at a certain time, and that's how they know how old how old the universe is. I don't remember the exact number. So based on that, so I study all that stuff, and then there's like black holes, right? And then there's super black holes, mega black holes bigger than galaxies. There's a black hole so big that it's like the world's biggest black hole has like 35 galaxies across of a black hole, right? And there's dark matter, all these things. You're telling me there's all these things. There's clearly ecosystem. That means the universe is alive. If stars are being birthed and dying, that means that's alive, right? You're telling me we're the only ones out of all these different planets, out of all it's kind of like a no-brainer, you know, unless you're very religious.
Where do you think all the aliens are at? Why haven't they showed themselves if we believe that?
Because it's so big. I mean, I don't know, but it's so big. You know what I mean? Your boy, I love him too, Elon Musk, said, no, it's very rare for them to probably try, like there's always life, but life always dies before it's able to go to another planet, basically. Which makes sense to me because we haven't able to do it yet, right? And we're pretty fancy if you think of it as a life form. We're a fancy pants life form, right? And we're not able to do it just yet. So he thinks that either life is so complicated where it either self-destructs itself or whatever, uses resources, or a meteor hits and game over, right? So if there is one, or let's just say there's 100 alien species that are in the universe, not in our galaxy, in the universe. Let's say there's a billion. Let's say there's a billion life forms that are able to leave the planet in the universe. Out of all those billions, it's so big that it would take, man, you know what I mean? They might have visited when the aliens were. They might have visited when the dinosaurs were here. They left. We missed them. You know, they're like, okay, that's what this planet's about. Check, bounce, right? Who knows? So for us, everyone's like, Earth, we're going to destroy the Earth. We're not going to destroy the Earth. We're going to destroy the Earth to the point where we're going to kill ourselves. But Mother Earth will live on. Shout out to Mother Earth. But like, Mother Earth will live on. We're just like fleas on Mother Earth. It's just going to be like, or whatever, you know? And just going to scratch us off itself, right? Eventually, and keep living while we die. So, aliens exist, in my opinion, and it's just too big. You know, the playground's too big. We haven't.
I don't know. I think a couple of things. I think there's a bunch of things that are happening simultaneously. I believe that there are, aliens that can, or extraterrestrial life that can, live in different forms that we can't fathom.
Ooh, like Elvis.
Well, no. For example,
He's an alien.
right? Yeah, he is, right? But I say more like in a more serious term. Like, for example, we humans, we see things in 2D, but we live in a 3D world. Mm-hmm. So we can't see anything that's in 3D. So something could be, people or things could be moving, I would assume, around us that we possibly can't even fathom.
Stranger Things. That's
Right.
the whole premise.
And then what about also, do aliens come all in the same form? What if they're smaller? What if they're so small that we can't even see them?
They're like this big. That means-
Right. Like, what if they're like the size of a freaking microbe and
Right.
and there's a whole planet that they're living in and we just can't fucking even see it? You know what I mean? It's just like...
Can I go smoke a joint and come back? Because this is right up that alley.
Yeah. No, I'm just being
Yeah,
honest.
man, I'm with you.
There's so much
I just
shit
want to be
happening.
high when we talk about this shit,
Yeah.
bro. No.
I want to be coherent. I don't want to be high. But I don't know. And I feel like also, I just feel like there's so many. I think if aliens are so intelligent and they're so much further than us, then they're so smart that they can be right in front of us and we not see them, or they can look just like us
Yeah.
and just be walking right in front of us and walking around us, working with us. Then we not know it. Being
Like, you could be an alien.
putting themselves in position for power.
You're an alien.
Could be. You never know.
You could be.
They could put themselves in power. Think about it. If you were an alien and you wanted to, infiltrate this culture, these people, what would you do? If you were studying them, I would say, okay, let me put some of my people on the ground. This
Well,
was
they say, that's what they say. They're like conspiracy theory. They're like the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers. They're all like alien. There's a guy who talks about, like one of the coolest stories I've ever read or listened to online is this guy. I forget his name, but I stumbled onto it by pure accident. Okay. And it's a guy who talks about the conception of humans and aliens and how we formed. Dude, it's this giant like typed thing that just scrolls on YouTube, like infinite. It's all tons of words and I don't know how to read, but this guy like narrates it and he talks about how aliens came to Earth for gold. Check this out. Let me ask you a question. Why before there was no telephone, okay? There was no internet, nothing way back in the days, okay? But humans can't not agree on anything. We are a war culture, like as a life form. We are a war life form, okay? We can't agree on anything. But somehow, unanimously, the entire planet agreed on gold. Maybe 3 countries should have agreed. Everybody agreed on gold unanimously with, when the technology wasn't there to communicate parts of the globe, obviously, right? Like, no matter what, if you rode a horse, like, you know what I'm saying? They couldn't get to places. There was like not even like boat technology necessarily that could take you from continent to continent. But everyone that was alive agreed on gold. Not gems, not one exact particular thing called gold, right? And then you're like, yeah, gold because it has all these things. But did they know that? And how did everybody know that, right? It's crazy. Think about that for a second. We can't agree on anything. We all agreed on gold, right? And so this is the guy that sparked that thought. He said the aliens came to planet Earth digging for gold, and they crossbred themselves because it was too much work. They kept crossbreeding themselves with different creatures, animals that were on this planet. That's why in Egyptians you'll see like a guy with a gator head or whatever, right? None of those worked. The humans worked. Like they crossbred themselves with like a monkey or something like that, whatever, right? Became humans. And then they listened the most, right? And so then once they got all the gold they wanted, they created this establishment because they were gods. They got everything they want, they got the gold and they bounced. And then after that, that's why humans we are what is it when there's a king? What's it called? Basically, not capitalism, but what is it when like one person's in charge? The hierarchy. That's what. But most countries had kings, right? Or some kind of dictatorship.
What do you think, a monarchy or something?
Monarchy.
Right.
We humans thrive in monarchy as well. It's not capitalism, America. This whole thing is new, right? We're a new thing. But humans have thrived in monarchies forever. So, and I think it all started with the aliens. There were monarchs, and then when they left, the managers, as they were, became the monarchs, right? And everybody listened, and they continued what they had known about gold. Okay, that being aside, now I have questions. This is my own stuff now. How come it's uncomfortable? So we sleep, right? Humans sleep. Fair? I think my theory is aliens invented music. Music's a way to controlling people. Like, music is so good that you can't help but tap your feet, right? There's certain tones, sometimes when music hits and you get like goosebumps going through your body, right? I think aliens use sleep, music to control us. Like, I bet there's a tone, a note that you can hit that all humans freeze. I kind of feel that way because music is so primitive, right? It's almost like embedded in us in a weird way. Tell me someone who doesn't like music, right? Who doesn't like music? It's only weird, like only truly weird people don't like some form of 100% of all music. I don't know anybody who doesn't like 100% of all music, right? Like, it's kind of a thing. And I think aliens did that to control us. And also, I have another question. We sleep in every direction, next to each other, onto each other. But how come we never sleep feet to feet? How come we don't sleep feet to feet? Have you ever I've asked my girlfriend to sleep feet to feet with me, but she gave me such a compliment. She said, she goes, I'm not going to do that because you have athletic foot. I was like, oh, thank you, baby. Athlete's foot. Shout out to whoever named Athlete's Foot, by the way. What a great name, huh? Hey, sir, you have Athlete's Foot. Thank you. I appreciate it. All diseases should be named. That doctor who named Athlete's Foot should get to name all the diseases. Like herpes should be Athlete's Dick, Athlete's Mouth. I'm just tangent. But how come we don't sleep feet to feet? I think the aliens programmed us to sleep feet to feet for some weird ass reason.
Yeah, I agree. They could have did it.
But how come you don't sleep feet? How come we don't do that? There's a weird thing. We sleep in every direction with each other, in every scenario, on top, on the side, name it, every position. The only position that we never sleep is feet to feet.
Yeah.
Just think about it. I know it's stupid.
No, I think it's deep.
Right.
Yeah, and we've got all types of like subspecies, like Neanderthals, Denisovans, and things like that. So it's like, it seems like there was multiple iterations of human since the beginning.
Yeah.
And then there's these large stones, these advanced civilizations that have existed prior that were said never to exist, and we're told that we're the smartest and we're the best. And then you go look on pyramids. There's things that look like planes. There's wooden structures that look like planes that can actually fly.
UFOs. There's paintings.
And this also goes even into from Egypt all the way to the Aztecs. You know,
shout out to the Aztecs.
So they were doing the same shit.
Ruthless people.
Yeah, I mean, they thought they were doing it for the gods.
I know, they held beating hearts in their hands. No anesthesia.
They thought they were doing it for the gods. They thought they were doing it for the gods.
But that's wild.
They thought there were gods coming from the sky again. So somebody was visiting them.
Right.
They built, they had airplane landing spots. So
gold and Egypt and pyramid shapes.
Yeah, pyramids all around the world.
And gold.
All over the world.
But think about it for a second. Gold and pyramids without any form of communication. But those two patterns ended up being like universal.
Right.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Duh.
Big rocks, big stones. You got to think about the big stones.
Ooh.
Large stones and perfect symmetry of math.
Yeah, big stones.
You can't forget that.
Yeah. No, seriously. It's insane. And as much as we like to watch Ancient Aliens and make fun of the guy that has the Einstein hair or whatever, I mean, sometimes it makes sense.
The Greek guy? Galapagos?
The guy that's
I know. He's a Greek dude.
He's like, oh my God. And he's like, we still can't do it with today's technology. That guy.
Yeah, the Greek dude.
But sometimes I'm like, okay, I believe you.
Like Papadopoulos or something.
Right.
His last
It
name.
makes
I forgot his
sense.
name. I love him. Yeah, it's cool.
He's so fun. But
he's I don't know. I reached out to him to be on the pod, and I think like he was just really Hollywood.
You should get him.
He was really Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah, like I've got a booking, and I've got all these people who want me on their show right now, and I was like, I thought he was about this. I thought he was about that life. Same thing with Tom DeLonge.
Yeah.
I thought he was about that life too. But it's kind of for show. They're kind of like
they get publicists,
Yeah.
and they get people, and then now they have booking fees.
Yeah, they think they're serious more than what they really are. They have this. I felt from what I've gathered, they have this arrogance about themselves still.
Well,
now maybe that's not true. Maybe there's some other stuff that I don't know.
I feel like
there's some arrogance there.
I feel like they're
celebrities,
but also like I think they're businesses. You know, they have to make a living for their family. So if they don't necessarily know about your show, and they don't know that you're like a bootstrap, or if they don't know your budget, you know what I'm saying? Like you can, like maybe you can, but your show is not about paying somebody like $5,000 to show up.
No, nobody's podcast is about that.
But my point is like, you know what I mean? Some people like the interviews, believe it or not, when celebrities do interviews, when athletes do interviews with ESPN or whatever, they have a booking fee. You know that, right? There's a booking fee that their publicists say, hey, you want to book them? It's $10,000 for this one interview or whatever.
Yeah, I get that.
So they do that. They just say that automatically, and that just becomes the default. You know?
But when you're providing them extra publicity, that's a no-go in the industry. It's
but they
different.
miss opportunities like you.
Yeah.
But so it sucks. But maybe it's not on their fault. Maybe it's just their publicists or whatever. You know, I'm just trying to.
No. I agree with you. I understand. I'm not saying that's 100% how they are, but I've reached out to some of them previous in the past, and I've gotten back this arrogance of some sense.
Oh yeah,
this person is busy. Like I was like, they're fucking Hollywood, and I'm like, I'm more Hollywood than you are technically. You've never really done anything.
Yeah,
you just got on a fucking Discovery show, and now you're like, or History Channel show, and now you're like, oh my god, I'm doing something important. It's like seriously, bro.
It's so funny because when people, there's two types of people, or there's two forms of them. Like for example, there is a game in Hollywood, if anybody's trying to break into the movie industry or write or direct something at like a professional level, what happens is you need to get a budget, right? If you don't want to fund it yourself, if you're not an oligarch and you don't want to fund your money yourself, right? You have to get a manager. You have to, not a manager, an agent, and your agent will then pitch your work to studios and different people who will fund your project, okay? But no one will listen to you unless you have a manager, because in case you have similar ideas, they don't want you to sue them and say, oh, I had this idea, but they also had a similar idea, you know? So they never want to like read your work without a lawyer, which is the agent's involvement for protection. But so there's this all like ring, like I'm in this limbo right now where no one will talk to me, even though I have final products, right? I have a short film that's a prototype for a bigger film that's finished. All they gotta do is watch 10 minutes. It's called The Night Before. You go to the nightbefore.info and watch it. Password TNB, all capitals. The nightbefore.info. Watch it. TNB is the password. I've never put on YouTube. But like no one will watch that, an agent or anyone, and to actually tell me, right? Because I don't have an agent, so they won't. But I'm like, you're an agent. I'm trying to get an agent. Watch it. They go, no, you need an agent. So this weird circle. You need one to get one, but in order to get one, you need one, right? And so the studios won't talk to me because I don't have an agent. The agents won't talk to me because they're like, you're not worth wasting our time, right? And you go to these panels, and they're like, you ask them, because they'll put agents on the panel. I was just recently at one, and they're like, yeah, what you do is you email and you ask everyone you can until somebody gives you a shot, you know? I'm like, cool, I've done all these things. Would you give me a shot? No, right? I'm like, would you at least read 3 words, 4 pages? No. Will you watch a 10-minute actual final product? No, right? So it's this limbo. So if you're gonna get in this game, just be prepared to, that's where the networking comes in. That's where the luck comes in. Just be prepared for that kind of Bolshevik part of it. Or you can do what I'm doing. It's just throw your hands in the air and say, c'est la vie. That's French. And just make it with your own money and just do it because you love it, right? And don't have any expectations. But please know that if you're going to get into that game, writing, directing, or whatever, it's a weird game of like, you need one to get one, but no one will talk to you, right? I need an agent to show to pitch, but no agent will talk to me to pitch, right? So that's the game. And this is why people get mad and give up.
I think like there's a difference, right? I mean, like even when I first came to LA, it was like I understood there was like this weird paradox, this weird like energy of like supply and demand or chicken before the egg kind of a thing. And it's like, how do you get past that? And I always thought like I have to make myself noticeable. Mm-hmm. Because you can't, I look at it as just everything's just noisy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise out here. And it's like, how do you get yourself past the noise?
That's why your boy's doing stand-up.
Right.
Because that's why I'm doing stand-up. Because one of the things was, you know, I hustle, right? And you know that. You hustle. We hustle. That's why we're friends. But like, I hustle. I'm out there, you know? I'm in the streets. And
I'm not in the streets, but
I'm in the streets. But like, but what happens is, I got to a point where they're like, okay, you've done all these things, great. Because at first they were like, write something. I wrote it. They're like, no, we don't want to read anymore. You have to have a final product. I made a final product. Like, oh, we don't want to watch that anymore. Now, before we even bother, you have to tell us who's in your movie. I'm like, what do you mean who's in my movie? Like a cool actor that can play this role, right? Somebody that can, I would like to give somebody and nobody a shot, you know, like me, come up together, hopefully. No, you need a real name. Or we're not going to, investors want to invest on us, right? So, and I'm like, how do I get a real name? And I realized, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of actors that also dabble in the comedy world, right? So then I started doing stand-up to be able to get to meet people, because they'll respect you a little bit more if you stand on that stage. They'll talk to you, right? Like, I met a couple comedians, big name comedians, I don't want to name drop, that I would never have the courage to talk to. But once I was like, hey, I'm a comedian. They're like, hey, like the wall comes down a little bit. It's weird. It's a club, right? And if you go on that stage for enough time, you can be a member of that club. That's the beauty of the comedy club, is like anyone can join as long as you're really doing it consistently and you're growing, right? Like your intentions and talents show after a while. There's only so far you can fake. And so I'm doing that so I can meet more actors, to be able to sell them on my scripts, to be able to write and direct, collaborate with them, right? So that's what I'm doing. Based on that, that's the game plan. That's the next move, is go on stage, make friends, be funny. And then side note, turns out comedy, one of the funnest things in the entire planet. If you're a creative person and you're thinking about writing and directing only, look into comedy, because writing is such a lonely sport. You write 120 pages, and then you have to have people read to get some input, right? Like your close friends. Your close friends don't want to read 125 pages of your work. You know what I mean? Maybe once. They're not going to read it 2-3 times, different scripts, different drafts.
I think I still stuck with this thing. I'm stuck with this thing. I feel like you have to do things like we do in Silicon Valley. And I don't consider myself a hustler. I consider myself a hacker. And why hacker? Because I'm a man of hacking. I'm not hustle. Hustles to me is like always, hustling to me sounds like cheap.
Oh, really?
It sounds cheap.
Effort. I guess to me, I define it as extreme effort. To me, hustling is like effort. Just
yeah, but I feel like
effort
as a hacker,
at all costs.
But as a hacker, I feel it's different from a hustler. A hacker is somebody who's always thinking intricately. Someone who's using skills. Someone has a technical know-how, a background, and they do it with this technical know-how and of execution.
Right.
And
in and out.
They hack ways into life.
Right.
But they're very strategic, and they take some type of like knowledge.
I like that.
Right. Instead of just somebody who just hustles. Like, hustle is like, to me, it's like kind of like you just keep on pushing. It's kind of luck. It's kind of like you come up with this, you throw some stuff over here, you throw some shit over here, and it just kind of happens if you keep on doing it.
I admit it. People that I deem cool have used the word hustle.
I know.
As a kid coming up.
I know. And
it's stuck.
Yeah. I'm just not.
But you're right. Like hacking is a cool word. Hustle is a cool word.
And the reason why I say that is because like you can't hack a fucking podcast and do the sound engineering. You can't do the color correction.
Yeah.
You can't build the system, the business model. You can't, think of the mics, the set design.
Right.
This is not fucking
lighting.
This is not hustling, right? There's technicalities to this.
Yeah. I guess.
So to me, it's a hack. And then there's also the social media marketing.
But then the hustle part comes in consistency. Like you driving from Frisco here That's a hustle. Or Silicon Valley to here. That's a
I feel
hustle.
it's just resilience.
Well, right, but that could be like the hustle, you know, like no one's hustling like me. I'm driving from Silicon to here, you know what I mean?
Okay,
like that's a crazy
fair.
thing. So both, but you're right. I agree with you 100%, and it's interesting, and I'll include hacking in my vocabulary.
I just feel like I do what it takes to get the job done
100%.
with the technical efficiency to do so.
You sit in front of it for an hour every day. Eventually, you'll finish.
Right. I mean, because you could say a hacker is someone who's hustling because they're sitting up all night figuring out shit. They're hacking into computers.
It's interchangeable.
They're figuring things. So, but that's why I say I lean towards more of the hacker versus the hustler, because the hustler, he kind of can just like go talk to Bill, go talk to Bob, and he'll just, he'll figure some shit out. And it's like, oh shit. He doesn't, it almost feels like they don't belong in the room, but they just got in there.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. There's no substance into hustling to me, in a sense. Hacking, there's talent, there's skill set, there's an education behind it.
But there's talent into like manipulating a situation.
I'm not saying that
to you,
but I'm not doing manipulating.
No. But
You see what I'm saying?
the
See what I'm
hustler-
saying? This is what I'm saying.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You see where it goes?
Right.
Do you see
I'm
what I'm
with-
going?
no, I like
you
it.
see a guy on the corner of the street,
like it.
right?
Yeah.
And he's selling shit. Oh, he's hustling.
But what do you call it? Because this has been my career. I just kind of lied and got into different rooms, right? Like when I got my job at Kinko's, they're like, do you know Photoshop, for example? Right? This is 1998, 9 or whatever. They're like, do you know Photoshop? And prior to that, I was like a host at Wolfgang Puck's or whatever, all these like other kind of jobs, right? Yes, I know Photoshop. What the hell's Photoshop? I Google Photoshop, right? Or not Google, I like read about Photoshop.
That's hacking.
And I'm illiterate, right? I had to like read about Photoshop. And then, but I got in because I lied, right? But I survived.
Yeah,
I
but
hustled.
the hard part is
I faked it till I made it.
you actually, but you had to do it. So that was a hack. You hacked the system. You got into the job.
But faking it till you make it, it would work.
You tricked the
also.
situation, but you actually had the actual skills to execute it. You learned the skills. That was
I had the drive.
Not just
and
the
the hunger
drive.
to
You had
learn.
the technical know-how to figure it out. You executed. You hacked your way into the job,
I like this.
and you got it done.
You're selling me. I
Yeah.
like it. I mean, I like it all. I'm a fan of fake it till you make it phrase. I do like that. I know some people don't like
I hate it.
I like that.
I hate it because I'm not
phrase.
faking shit.
I am sometimes. But I am.
I just feel
when I made my first film, I never had made a movie before, right? All I knew was what I kind of thought I knew. Point the camera, whatever. And then I learned about lighting and all this stuff, right? All that, and it worked out. But please watch it the night before that info. but my point is that like I knew nothing, so I literally was like faking it in the moment. But if your superpowers in the creative field, you know what I mean? Some people are great with math, right? They can just figure shit out, but they don't know that they can figure out. Isn't that faking it a little bit?
I don't really believe in necessarily faking it. I just feel like there's some things that you have to do. It's necessary for the hack. It's necessary for the hack.
It's very Matrix.
Like you have to do certain
love it.
things in order to get the hack to work. It's a hack. I don't believe in faking. Like faking to me seems like I'm synthetic. I just tricked you into doing something that I knew I could already do. So how was I faking?
Interesting.
I'm not fucking. You just don't know who I am yet.
You're like Neo, bro.
You just don't know who I am.
Right.
Just because you don't know who I fuck I am doesn't mean I'm faking. Was Will Smith before he was fucking Will Smith? I bet he was. Before he smacked Chris Rock, I'm pretty sure he knew he was. Yeah.
Can I share something with you? I know we gotta go, right? We gotta wrap this, but I was, I work at a place with amazing people, and I don't want to name the place, but I work at this particular place, and I wanted more growth, right? And I kind of told my manager, I was like, look, my not my manager, but like the head lady in charge. She's like the greatest boss I've ever had in my life, right? And I've had a couple good ones, but she's incredible. And I told her, I was like, the guy who's managing me, my creative director, also a very cool person, right? But he's very busy. And I was like, he was kind of like not accepting of my skills, right? Like not, he wasn't hating on me like that, but he just hadn't seen a creature like me in real life. Does that make sense? Like just people are like, oh, if you're this good, then why are you not famous, right? It's that TikTok thing. Because you ain't sharing my shit, bro. Have you seen that TikTok account? Why are you not famous? Because you ain't sharing my shit. But like he had never seen somebody like me in the flesh. So he just thought I'm just another one of these guys, right? But like since I've worked there in front of his eyes, right? I was like, because I'm one of those people that I announce before I do. It's like a very important thing for me. I tell everyone before I do, I'm gonna make a movie. I'm gonna do comedy, right? I'm gonna do whatever, right? I tell everyone. That way I'm held responsible, right? But I told in front of him, I was like, I'm gonna make a movie. And he was like, in front of the whole office, oh, I don't think you know how hard it is to make a movie, right? I invited him to my premiere at the Mad Chinese Theater. You know what I'm saying? He didn't go, but I mean, he wasn't hating on me, but he was like, right? And then I was like, after my movie, I was like, I'm gonna do comedy, right? Next thing he sees me performing at actual comedy clubs. Now, it's not the Comedy Store. You know, you're not really in the comedy game necessarily till you've done like 8 years. You know, there's like things that's like a number, but I'm still performing at real comedy clubs in front of real people, not open mics. You know, I'm also doing that, but now he sees that too, right? Like everything, all these things that he has deemed almost like very difficult or impossible to do, I've done it in front of him, and I tell him, I go, I can do all these, but he's like, when it comes to like advertising or directing jobs or whatever, he's like, oh no, you can't do this, right? And I'm like, bro, I've done things that are a million times harder than what you think, like making a movie and doing stand-up comedy. You don't think I can write an email to a client and sound professional? You know, like those kind of things. And so I had this talk, and I was like, he's never seen a creature like me in real life. And I'm not being like egotistical or anything like that. I'm just saying, look me up and judge for yourself of my like effort, not, you know? And so, and I said that to my boss, and she understood, and I felt justified, you know? But that's what it is people, if you're one of those ones, if you're not an outlier, but if you're just so hungry that you're just doing it, you know, if you're so hungry that you're creating and no one else knows, sometimes you have to fight for yourself. And it may sound arrogant to people, and it may sound cocky, but if it's your actual honest story, if it's your truth, I hate those words, my truth, but if it's your truth, right, then don't be ashamed of it. Tell people, because the people that are real will understand you. Like, she understood me. Talk with him. Now he understands me. Like, he understood me. He wasn't hating on me. You know what I mean? But he was so busy in his own world that he wasn't seeing me for me, right? And so I had to just shine some light on myself for him. And now opportunities are growing. And that's just it, you know? And I did that to my boss at the risk of losing my job, you know? So, and if I lose my job, I lose my freedom to be powerful, because my superpower right now is I make money in advertising, I'm self-sufficient, and then I take that money as a tool and I make things, right? And I grow creatively, whatever that may be. And that's the funnest game you can do in the whole world, you know? And I could chase this guy, you know? And but I risked it, and I said that, and I used those words, as arrogant as that was. I was like, I don't think he's ever seen one like me in real life. You've never seen it. Like, you've seen people like me, like on TV, because they had a different career trajectory. They became famous or whatever. They became a Childish Gambino. They became Kanye West. You know what I mean? Like, I have that drive. I never had that success, but doesn't mean that I don't have that ability. Doesn't mean you don't have that ability. So people love to keep you down and put you in a box, but sometimes you gotta fucking stand up for yourself, and you gotta know that you gotta be able to burn down the house to build a new one. You know, in my case, it worked out. They didn't fire me, right? Because I am real. Like, my value to the company, what I produce, because I design all the events, I design the look and feel from scratch. You know what I'm saying? I produce for 5 to 6 years over there, like big events. So luckily I have a good leader, and she was able to see that. But I highly recommend that you have to like fight for yourself. People want to get discovered, but sometimes you just got to tell people, no, like, you're wrong. I am this.
I think it's deep, and I understand you. I feel like you don't really.
It's just my story.
No, and I understand it. I just think that you don't have to focus your time on proving someone else wrong, because you're not solving the problem for yourself, and you're not creating a solution for everyone else. You're doing it to show somebody else that you can do it. And
no, but it's opportunity. You're fighting for opportunity. See, that's the thing. If people don't give you opportunity, like I'm not rich enough to give myself the opportunities I want.
But people aren't going to give you opportunities. You got to take your opportunity.
That's what I'm saying. So you go in there and you got to be able.
Yeah,
you got to be willing to burn the house down sometimes.
Yeah, but you can't use them as a reasoning for, is what I'm saying. That's just a distraction. If you want to use that as motivation to fight, to do something amazing, to help people, that's fine. But as a reasoning, it's like, oh yeah, this person said I can't do it, so now I'm going to do it. But
if it's your boss, it's like a place where someone has direct control over you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
like someone might be in that situation where they're not understanding me.
Yeah, but typically what I do to people like that is I'll go ahead and do it for someone else, but not them. And I'm like, hey, bitch, you see me over here? Yeah. The thing you said I couldn't do, I'm doing it for somebody else. That's normal. And I have a better position and more money. Yeah. What are we doing here? That's typically
the move. But also sometimes you like where you are. You know, that's the thing. Like I like where I am. Yeah. But
nothing wrong with that.
But it's this thing where you have to fight for yourself, and just because I guess my thing is, if you fight for yourself, doesn't mean you're arrogant, doesn't mean that you're like cocky. It just means that you're passionate too.
What's going on with this new generation, man? I just had a friend of mine, he texted me on the IG. He's like, hey, look, here's my GoFundMe.
For what?
He's having neurological or psychotic issues and depression, and he's opening a GoFundMe for $12,000. I'm like, hey, bro,
$500 a month for your insurance.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, seriously, go figure that out your fucking self. You got to figure out shit yourself in this world. Nobody's gonna give you a guy. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for you because you're a guy.
Yeah, it's weird. I've never asked anybody for money. I've never taken government money. Right. I mean, we took pandemic money. They send a check. Did you get one of those? I got one. Like,
nah, too much money. They don't give you that shit.
No, they do.
No, they didn't.
They sent me money.
They didn't send me shit.
I ain't broke.
No, they didn't send me shit.
Interesting. Yeah. How much money you got?
Yeah. They didn't send me no money. I'll tell you that.
You didn't get $1,200?
No,
I got $1,200. No. I was surprised. My girlfriend was like, "How'd you get $1,200?" I'm like,
they start sending it to everyone.
Yeah, everyone got it.
But no, people were getting. No, I'm saying people were getting paid. They were getting like a bunch of checks.
No, but if depends on. But I think everyone alive got $1,200. So you have $1,200 coming to you. You should look into that.
All right, cool.
But you're like camera, yes. But like my thing is, I've never asked for money. Never taken money. So I don't get when people ask for money. It's like, get a job. Honestly, I'm like, get a job. You have mental health, fair. The government should help you then, if that's the case, right? Because I pay a lot of tax. I pay my share of taxes. You know what I'm saying? Like I do. And it's not a flex or anything like that, but I'm saying I pay taxes, and I'm gladly pay taxes, so we take care of the people.
I just think when people, I typically
why are you asking for more money?
No, I think when you show people that you have some type of money of some sense, then everybody starts asking you for money. Like
it's weird. Like
you post shit on Instagram.
Iranians, we don't, like Persians, like we don't ask for money. We're too proud. Like, I don't know any Persians that ask for money. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I find it a very American, like middle America kind of thing to ask.
Well, I think it's like, none of these people are American, first of all. Most of these people are like, if they are their first generation.
First generation people ask for money? See, I've never come across that.
Fuck yeah. This I'm in Cali, bro.
This is a new thing. All the first generation people I know are just happy to be here.
Yeah, I think
you know what I'm saying? Because like when I do comedy, a lot of times people are like, comics go up there and they're like,
and when I mean by first generation, I mean born here. Parents not.
Still, yeah, okay, maybe that's first generation too.
Yeah,
what's the one?
First generation means like you're born here. You're not first generation because you weren't born here.
But I was born here.
You were born here? I was born that's right. You're in the plane. That's right.
But when I was 8 months old,
you went back over there.
So I'm a weird hybrid.
Right. You were born in America, but you lived there.
Yeah, I'm a weird hybrid.
Yeah.
Like, but. So that's what first generation means, huh?
Yeah, you're first generation.
I'm weirdly first.
But you were weird because you went back.
I'm a first generation with an asterisk.
Right.
Like, I didn't grow up. I don't know how to speak English like that. I don't know.
Right. You weren't raised here.
I wasn't raised here.
You were just born here. And
I just got the passport
overseas.
dipped back in.
Typical.
Shout out to mom.
Shout out to mom. Yeah.
Thank you, mama. But yeah, like so that's weird to me too, and I don't get it. I've worked since I was 13 years old. to this day. I took my first vacation at 35, after I bought the 2 condos, all that shit. So I don't get when people ask for money like that.
I don't either.
I think it's such a privileged, way of thinking.
I think so too. I think this is just the culture, man. Everybody's begging for money now. But anyways, let's talk about this before we get off the pod. You're at a time in your life, where time is going. Life is good. Got a nice, beautiful girlfriend.
I'm living it.
You got a nice Porsche,
American, yeah.
You're a comedian now.
From homeless.
You're a celebrity comedian now.
Yeah,
I mean,
homeless.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
So, with that being said, let me ask you this question.
Multi-properties.
What do you want to be? What? No. This is a little bit deeper.
No, I'm just bullshitting.
You're gone.
I'm dead.
What do you want to be remembered as?
Oh, I already know exactly what I'm going to be remembered at. So I'm going to leave everything I have to my girlfriend.
No. What do you want to be remembered as?
A guy who did everything he wanted to, even though he shouldn't have been able to, right?
This is who Arash Razzaghi. This is who he is.
Yeah, he chased curiosity. Honestly, he wanted to learn, even though he hated school. He had a true love for learning his way, the hard way. Got to burn myself a couple of times in that fire. But once I learn it, once I get the fundamentals, watch out. You know what I'm saying? It's all about fundamentals. For me, you get fundamentals of anything: comedy, advertising, creative design, concepting, filmmaking, directing. You get that fundamentals of any of those fields, you're unstoppable, right? You let your brain, because then your brain's on autopilot. You don't have to think anymore, and only creative stuff comes out. Because everything else, every move you do is correct. So for me, you hate it, but third best in every room.
All right.
I want to be remembered. I know you don't like it, but third best in every room is, if I ever got a tattoo, I'd get that as a tattoo.
Hey, well, it's not about what I like. It's at the end of the day, it's what you like. That's why I ask you.
That's true, but
who do you want to be remembered
at? Your opinion matters.
Awesome.
Me. I like you, bro.
Same ways. Likewise. Arash Razzaghi, my brother. Let's do it.
Follow me on Instagram. Arash is dead. I've learned how to promote myself. You see this shit? I'm learning.
Get your TikTok on.
Arash is dead at Instagram. I don't have a TikTok. Thank you very much.
Let's get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Kids in the Room podcast. Kids in the Room podcast.
That's right.
Brought to you by Move Faces TV. Let's go.